Water, a natural resources. Water. Learning about water and its uses. Water is important natural resources and we all know the importance of water for life. There is plenty of water in our planet, but the distribution of water on Earth is not uniform. In our day-to-day life, apart from drinking, we use water for cooking, cleaning utensils, washing clothes, etc. In our routine course of life, water plays a very important role. We use water for agriculture purposes, to grow wheat, rice, pulses, vegetables and many other food items. Water is used in industries for producing almost all the things that we use. So, we need water not only for our daily activities but also for producing many things. The amount of water recommended by the United Nations for drinking, washing, cooking and maintaining proper hygiene is a minimum of 50 liters per person per day. This amount is about 2.5 buckets of water per person per day. Sources of water. We draw water from a river, spring, pond, well or a hand pump or from taps. Have you ever wondered where does water in the taps comes from? Water that we get from taps is also drawn from a lake or a river or a well. It is then supplied through a network of pipes. About 2/3 of the earth is covered with water. We know that maximum amount of water on earth is stored in oceans. But because of large amount of salts present in this water, not possible to use it directly for most applications at home, industry or in agriculture. Yet, oceans play an important role in supplying the water that we use. Forms of water. Water is found on the earth in 3 states. Water in the well, lakes, rivers and seas, as well as groundwater is in liquid form. In the polar regions and at the top of the high mountains, water is in the form of ice. That is, it is in solid form. Water in air is in the form of vapor or in the gaseous form. Evaporation of water in sunlight and in shade. Let us do a small activity to study evaporation of water in sunlight and in shade. Activity. Take 2 similar plates. Place one of the plates in sunlight and keep the other under shade. Now pour equal amount of water in each of the plates. Observe the water kept in the sunlight evaporated quickly, whereas water kept in the shade took a little more time to evaporate. During the daytime, all the air surrounding us gets heated. This warm air provides heat for evaporation of water in the shade. Thus, evaporation takes place from all open surfaces of water. As a result, water vapor gets continuously added to air. However, evaporation of water is a slow process. Disappearing trick of water. Water spilled on a floor dries up after some time. The water seems to disappear. Similarly, water disappears from wet clothes as they dry up. Water from wet roads, rooftops, and a few other places also disappears after the rains. Disappearing trick of water is nothing but evaporation. During the daytime, sunlight falls on the water in oceans, rivers, lakes, and ponds. The fields and other land areas also receive sunlight. As a result, water from all these places continuously changes into vapor. However, the salts dissolved in the water are left behind. Loss of water by plants. Plants grow everywhere, wherever there is soil. Plants need water to grow. Plants use a part of this water to prepare their food and retain some of it in their different parts. Remaining part of this water is released by the plants into air as water vapor through stomata, just as we lose water through our skin as sweat. This process is called transpiration. Water vapor enters the air through the process of evaporation and transpiration. In hot, dry region, the soil is too dry. These areas get very little rain. When it does not rain, the hot and dry weather causes water to evaporate quickly. To solve the water problem, the water from other places is taken there through canals. This is known as irrigation. Evaporation of water is a serious problem. Here are some ways to reduce evaporation of water. A layer of a substance called cetyl alcohol is spread on the water in reservoirs in which large quantities of water are stored. A thin layer of substance spreads on the water surface. This helps to reduce the evaporation of water. Water for irrigation is usually carried through open canals. Instead, if the water is carried through large pipes, it costs a little more, but it prevents much. To save water, some plants are grown under plastic covers. Water in the soil evaporates in the sun but condenses due to the plastic cover, and drops of water fall back onto the ground. Back to the oceans. Almost all land surfaces are above the level of oceans. Most of the water that falls on the land as rain and snow sooner or later goes back to the oceans. This happens in many ways. Snow in the mountains melts into water. This water flows down the mountains in the form of streams and rivers. Some of the water that falls on land as rain also flows in the form of rivers and streams. Most of the rivers cover long distances on land and ultimately fall into a sea or an ocean. However, water of some rivers flow into lakes. The rainwater also fills up the lakes and ponds. A part of rainwater gets absorbed by the ground and seems to disappear in the soil. The rest seeps into the ground. Most of this water becomes available to us as groundwater. Open wells are fed by groundwater. Groundwater is the source for many lakes as well. It is also this groundwater which is drawn by a hand pump or a tube well. There are few areas where most of the land is covered with concrete. This reduces the seepage of rainwater into the ground, which ultimately affects the availability of groundwater. We now know that water brought back to the surface of the earth by rain, hail, or snow goes back to oceans. Thus, water from the ocean and surface of the earth goes into air as vapor, returns as rain, hail, or snow, and finally goes back to the ocean. The circulation of water in this manner is known as the water cycle. Summary: water is essential for all living beings. There can be no life without it. Water exists in three forms: solid, liquid, and vapor. Though water is maintained by the water cycle, yet there is an